take a look at your life for a moment. You have food. You have a roof over your head. You probably have a phone, internet access, and maybe even plans for tomorrow. Objectively, things are more or less okay. And yet there's this anxiety, this tension, a constant, quiet feeling that something is wrong. So here's the uncomfortable question most of us never really ask. If everything is basically fine, why does it feel so bad inside? The answer is a little unsettling, but it's incredibly precise. Your brain doesn't know that you live in the 21st century. Here's the core truth. Your brain was not designed to make you happy. It was designed to keep you alive. Not fulfilled, not peaceful, not satisfied, just alive. This single fact explains more about modern suffering than thousands of motivational quotes ever will. Think about it. Your entire nervous system evolved over millions of years in a world filled with predators, hunger, cold, and constant, real-world threats. In that environment, feeling calm was dangerous. Relaxation meant you were vulnerable. Your safety, your very survival, depended on being hyper-vigilant. So, your brain learned one rule above all others. If there is no obvious danger, look harder. Fast forward to today. You might be sitting in a warm, comfortable apartment, physically safe, connected to friends, and relatively stable. But the brain that's scanning your inner world is still running that ancient survival software. And that software is extremely good at one thing: detecting problems, even when there are none. This leads to what I call the fundamental modern error. We modern humans make one critical mistake. We interpret our anxiety as evidence. If you feel anxious, you automatically assume something must be wrong. If you feel tense, there must be a reason. If you feel empty, something must be missing from your life. But this logic is flawed. That emotional discomfort you feel isn't necessarily proof of danger. More often than not, it's just a default survival signal from your brain that has nowhere to go. Your nervous system doesn't really distinguish between a real external threat, like a tiger in the bushes, and a vague internal sensation of uncertainty. To your brain, both can feel exactly the same. So how does the brain actually manufacture this suffering? The mechanism is simple, and it's ruthless. It starts with a sensation. Maybe it's a bit of restlessness, a flicker of anxiety, or just a vague sense of unease. Your brain immediately interprets this as a threat. Its first thought is, something is wrong. This activates your thinking mind. The analysis begins. You start to ruminate. Your attention turns completely inward, focusing on that feeling. And here's the kicker. Your attention amplifies the signal. The more you check in on how you feel, the worse you actually feel. At this point, most of us fall into a trap. We start asking questions like, why do I feel like this? What's wrong with me? What if this feeling never goes away? But here's the paradox. The very act of checking becomes the fuel for the fire. By constantly monitoring your internal state, you are sending a clear message back to your brain. Yes, this sensation matters. Yes, this is important. Yes, keep scanning for threats. And your brain, being the obedient machine it is, listens. it keeps scanning. We're taught from a young age that thinking is how we solve problems, that more insight leads to relief, that understanding ourselves will bring us peace. But for anxious states, this is simply not true. An anxious brain doesn't calm down through more analysis. It calms down through engagement with the external world. When your attention collapses inward, your nervous system tightens up. But when your attention moves outward onto something in the world around you, the system starts to regulate itself. This is why you often feel better when you're taking a walk, working with your hands, having a real conversation with someone, or solving a concrete external problem. It's not because your internal problem magically disappeared. It's because your brain switched modes. This requires a critical shift in perspective. Here, the mental reversal that can change everything. A bad emotional state is not a problem to be solved. It is a signal to change how your brain is operating. Most people do the exact opposite. We treat every unpleasant emotion as a message, a diagnosis, or a call for deep, introspective soul-searching. But all this does is strengthen the feedback loop. The brain hears, okay, this is serious. Keep going. And it does. This creates the great modern illusion. There's this deeply ingrained belief in our culture that says, first I need to feel better, then I can start living my life. But the brain works in the complete reverse. First you start living, then the brain recalibrates. Action comes before emotional relief. Engagement comes before clarity. Movement comes before motivation. Waiting to feel good before you act is like waiting for the ocean to become perfectly calm before you decide to learn how to swim. It's never going to happen. So, what does this mean in practice? This doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions. It doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it's not. And it definitely doesn't mean toxic positivity. It means something far more precise and powerful. Stop treating your emotions as facts. Stop assuming that your discomfort requires a deep interpretation. Stop giving your anxiety the authority of truth. Instead, introduce a new internal statement. The next time you feel that unease, just tell yourself, I feel bad right now, but that doesn't mean something is wrong with me or with my life. This single sentence can break the entire feedback loop because it removes the brain's favorite fuel, meaning you're taking the story away from the sensation. The real cause of so much modern unhappiness isn't that you're broken. It's not that your life is necessarily wrong, and it's not that you're missing some essential piece of the puzzle. It's that you are experiencing a survival system that's running at full throttle, but without a battlefield. And until you understand this, you'll keep trying to fix your life, when the real task is to retrain your attention. Here's the final insight for today. Happiness is not something the brain naturally maintains. Calm is not our default setting. Peace is not automatic. These states emerge when the brain is no longer trapped inside itself. They happen when we successfully shift our focus from our internal world to the external one. It's the rule that governs procrastination, fatigue, our resistance to change, and even why the simple act of being self-aware can feel so exhausting. Because once you understand that law, you can stop blaming yourself and start working with your brain instead of against it. Thanks so much for watching. If this resonated with you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next chapter. See you then. Most people think neurosis is an illness, something that just happens to you, like catching a cold, an external, pathological force that takes over. But what if I told you something far more uncomfortable? What if neurosis isn't a disease at all? What if it's a learned way of living? No one is born neurotic. It's not a genetic curse or a sign of a broken brain. It's a pattern, a habit, one that is slowly trained, reinforced, and automated over time. And the most dangerous part, from the inside, it feels completely logical. It feels like you're doing the right thing. So, how does this process even begin? It never starts dramatically. There's no sudden collapse, no major breakdown, no obvious, single traumatic event. It starts with something almost everyone experiences: ordinary anxiety, a strange sensation in your body, a sudden spike of tension, a weird thought that pops into your head, a general feeling of unease. At this stage, this anxiety is completely harmless. It's just a signal, like a notification on your phone. It's your body communicating with you. But then we make a critical error. We become afraid of the anxiety itself. We're not afraid of a real danger, like a tiger in the room. We're not afraid of an external threat. We become afraid of the feeling. Our mind asks a question that changes everything. What if this feeling doesn't go away? That single thought is the turning point. From that moment on, anxiety is no longer just a sensation. It transforms into a potential catastrophe. Bend your brain, the ultimate learning machine, immediately starts taking notes. The way the brain learns neurosis is simple, and it's brutal. It goes like this. First, anxiety appears. Then, you focus all your attention on it. You try to analyze it, understand it, and most importantly, control it. And what does your brain conclude from all this effort? It concludes, this feeling must be incredibly important. From your brain's perspective, your attention equals danger. If you're watching something that closely, it must matter. If you're constantly monitoring it, it must be threatening. If you're trying to control it, it must be risky. So, what does the brain do? It strengthens the response. It turns up the volume on the anxiety signal. This is how a vicious loop forms. Anxiety leads to more attention, which amplifies the feeling, which creates even more anxiety. Eventually, your fear is no longer about anything in the real world. Your fear becomes fear of the fear itself. This is the absolute core of neurosis. And here is the secret mechanism that keeps this whole system running. The one almost no one notices: constant self-monitoring. The person begins to scan themselves relentlessly. They're constantly checking their pulse, checking their breathing, checking their thoughts to see if they're normal or weird, checking their emotions to see if they're okay. This looks like being responsible. It feels like self-care. But neurologically, it is the exact opposite. You are keeping your own nervous system under constant interrogation. Every time you check in on yourself, you send the same message to your brain. Stay alert. Something is wrong. We are not safe. And your brain, being the loyal servant it is, complies. It keeps the alarm bells ringing. At this stage, most people do what seems completely reasonable. They try to fight back. They try to calm down, to relax, to eliminate the symptoms, to force themselves to feel relief. But here's the paradox. The harder you try to get rid of anxiety, the more important it becomes to your brain. Why? Because your effort signals urgency. Your struggle signals danger. Your attempt to control signals a genuine threat. From your nervous system's point of view, your behavior is screaming. This sensation is so dangerous that we have to fight it with everything we've got. And so, the nervous system tightens its grip. The symptoms become more stable, more persistent. This brings us to the central insight of this entire video. If you remember one thing, let it be this. We do not suffer from anxiety. We suffer from interpreting anxiety as a threat. Anxiety itself is not the enemy. The meaning you attach to it is. The moment anxiety gets labeled as dangerous in your mind, your entire nervous system shifts into defense mode. And you cannot be in defense mode and feel calm at the same time. They are biologically incompatible. This is why neurosis feels so incredibly real. It persists because it's convincing. The sensations are physically your heart races. You feel dizzy. Your stomach churns. The thoughts feel urgent and catastrophic. The emotions feel completely overwhelming. But none of that means actual danger is present. It only means your brain has been overtrained in vigilance. Think of it like a muscle. If you train a muscle incorrectly, over and over, it develops tension and pain. In the same way, if you train your nervous system incorrectly, it develops chronic anxiety. So, what do you do instead of fighting? The solution isn't force. It's not suppression. And it's not control. The solution is retraining. It involves 3 essential shifts in your approach. Step 1 is to allow the symptoms. This doesn't mean you have to like them or agree with them. It doesn't mean you accept them as your truth. You're not analyzing them or checking them. You are simply allowing them to exist without a response. No internal commentary. No monitoring, no negotiating with a feeling. Just let it be there. This simple act of non-engagement removes the danger label. You're showing your brain that this signal doesn't require an emergency response. Step 2 is to move your attention outward. The nervous system naturally calms down when your attention leaves the internal loop of self-monitoring. This means engaging with the world around you. Get up and do some physical movement. Focus on a practical task, like washing the dishes or organizing a shelf. Engage your senses. What can you see, hear, and touch right now? Have a conversation. This isn't about distracting yourself. It's about reorienting your focus. You are actively teaching your brain a new association. These internal sensations do not require my focus to keep me safe. Step 3 is to act despite the discomfort. Avoidance is the most powerful fuel for neurosis. Every time you avoid a situation because you're afraid of feeling anxious, you confirm your brain's fear. The brain learns, see, we didn't go to that party because it was dangerous, but taking action, even when you feel anxious, rewrites that story. When you do the thing anyway, your brain gets new, powerful data. It learns, we felt anxious, but we survived. Nothing catastrophic happened. This is how you reinstall a sense of safety at the deepest level. The moment of reversal happens when you stop monitoring your symptoms, stop fighting the sensations, and stop organizing your entire life around your anxiety. And instead, you just live. You move, you engage, you act. When you do this, your brain receives new data. Not logic, not reassurance, but direct experience. And experience is the only language the nervous system truly understands. So here is the final, crucial realization. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not permanently damaged. You simply learned an unhelpful response pattern. And the beautiful thing is anything that is learned can be unlearned. Neurosis is not who you are. It's just something your brain got really, really good at doing. And just as it learned that pattern, it can learn something new. It can learn to feel safe again. In our next video, we're going to go even deeper. We'll examine how your attention literally shapes your reality, why what you focus on becomes your world, and how stepping out of this mental autopilot can fundamentally change how your entire life feels. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. See you then. Let's talk about the greatest lie ever told about happiness. It sounds so simple, so convincing. Happiness is a feeling, and this one simple idea quietly ruins millions of lives. Why? Because if happiness is just a feeling, then it must be something you search for, something you have to check on, constantly monitor, and try to maintain. But think about it. The very moment you start checking whether you are happy, you stop being happy. It's an instant kill switch for joy. So here is the truth that most people never get to hear. Happiness is not a feeling. Happiness is a side effect. It's a byproduct of how you live your life, not some prize you have to hunt down. Modern culture teaches us to treat happiness like a destination on a map. When I get that promotion, I'll be happy. When I lose 10 pounds, I'll finally be happy. When I fix all my problems and feel calm, then I'll start living. But our brains simply don't work that way. The more you check on whether you're happy, the more you wait for the right state to begin your life. The more you listen to every little inner sensation, the further away happiness drifts. Why does this happen? Because your attention is turned inward, not outward. And your brain interprets this constant self-focus, this internal monitoring, as a sign of unresolved danger. It's like you're on high alert, scanning for threats within yourself. So, you're not actually living. You're monitoring. And monitoring is completely incompatible with joy. This brings us to the core paradox of happiness. It disappears the very moment it becomes your main goal. It's not because happiness is fragile or elusive. It's because the brain cannot relax while it's being evaluated. Think about it in other contexts. You can't truly enjoy a beautiful piece of music if you're constantly asking yourself, am I enjoying this enough? You can't fully relax on a vacation if you're constantly checking, am I relaxed yet? Happiness only emerges when your attention leaves the self and fully enters the flow of life. So, If we can't chase it, how do we find it? Well, lasting well-being isn't emotional, it's structural. It's about building a foundation in your life that allows happiness to show up on its own. There are 3 core pillars of psychological well-being that quietly regulate your nervous system and create these conditions. The first pillar is action. Do not wait for the right mood. Act first. Your brain follows your behavior, not your intentions. We have this idea backward. We think motivation creates action, but the truth is, action creates motivation. We think we need clarity before we make a move, but clarity actually comes from movement. When you wait to feel ready, you get stuck in an endless thinking loop. But when you act, even with discomfort, your brain is forced to update its reality. This isn't about willpower, it's just biology. Your actions teach your brain what's important and what's possible. The second pillar is engagement. The human brain calms down when it is meaningfully occupied. This means work, learning, creative efforts, deep social connection, solving real-world problems. The more fully you engage with the life in front of you, the less room anxiety has to grow. This isn't because your problems magically disappear. It's because your attention stops feeding the internal noise. A busy mind is not the same as a distracted mind. A busy mind is a directed mind, one that's pointed outward at the world. The third pillar is acceptance. And this is the most counterintuitive part for many people. It means you have to stop demanding things from yourself. Stop demanding that you be calm, that you be happy, that you be normal, that you feel the correct emotions all the time. That demand to feel good creates immense pressure. That pressure creates internal resistance. And it's that resistance that sustains our suffering. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means removing the internal fight. You stop fighting your own nervous system. And the moment you stop fighting it, your body and mind can finally begin to regulate themselves. P.S. The sentence that really marks the turning point for so many. The moment you stop trying to fix yourself, you finally start living. Think about how many years people spend treating themselves like a broken machine that needs constant repair. Endless self-improvement books, endless introspection, endless self-correction. But you are not a project to be completed. You are a process to be lived. When you finally stop trying to repair yourself and just start participating in life, happiness stops hiding from you. Now, this is why looking inward too much can backfire. Self-awareness is a useful tool, but only up to a certain point. Beyond that point, it becomes self-absorption. Excessive introspection magnifies your discomfort. It distorts your perception of reality. And, worst of all, it disconnects you from the world around you. Your brain is designed to stabilize through interaction with the environment and with other people, not through isolation inside your own head. Life is happening out there, outside your head. And happiness is a response to your participation in that life, not a result of deep contemplation. So let's reframe this entire concept. You are not required to be happy. You are not obligated to feel good all the time. You are not failing if joy is absent today. Your only real task is much simpler, much more direct. Live your life. Act. engage, respond to the reality that is right in front of you. If you do that, your brain will do the rest. The regulation will happen automatically. The balance will restore itself. And those positive states, like joy and contentment, will appear without you ever having to summon them. Let's close with this one insight. Happiness is not something to chase. It's not something to force. It's definitely not something to measure. Happiness is what happens when you stop interfering with how your brain naturally works. When your attention finally leaves the prison of self-monitoring and returns to life itself. Happiness doesn't need to be invited. It arrives all on its own. Happiness is not something you have to search for. It is what happens when you stop getting in the way of living. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. If you're still here, still watching my videos, I just want to say something simple. Thank you. In this world of endless noise and constant distractions, the fact that you choose to spend your time here with me means more than you can possibly imagine. It means you're one of those rare people who wants to go deeper, who wants to question things, and who looks for answers inside yourself, not just on the surface. I am honestly so happy that there are people like you who share these interests, these questions, and this search for meaning. So, if you feel like this space resonates with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and maybe share this video with someone you know who might need it. Your support helps this content reach more people who are also quietly searching. Thank you for being here, really.